It would be irresponsible just to say that Microsoft had to deliver the goods at their 2023 Not E3 showcase. Microsoft first-party output has been so bad that the value proposition of Game Pass, once widely regarded as one of the best values in gaming, has been called into question, and with only Starfield and Forza Motorsport filling out Microsoft's first-party calendar for the rest of the year, the imperative was to lay out a roadmap to inspire renewed confidence in the Xbox brand. Now, I'm not going to rehash their entire presentation here game for game because frankly they announced a lot that I couldn't care less about, which is just to be expected with a brand as deeply rooted in Western gaming as Xbox. I am no indication of how the mainstream audience is going to receive this show, and I make no attempt to pretend otherwise. All I can do is provide my own perspective on what they did and didn't show, and how I see it affecting Xbox's immediate future. I'll start with Forza Motorsport, which is one of those rare Xbox games I'm just guaranteed to dive into on general principle. Between Forza Motorsport 7 and Gran Turismo 7, I give the edge to GT, but I'm totally prepared for Turn 10 to win me over. Unfortunately, there wasn't a ton of disclosure on actual game content, but the gameplay footage that was shown looked solid. If they hit all the right notes with the course and car selection, I can see myself sinking a lot of time into this game and breathing new life into my Series X, which has been largely warming the bench in recent months. I'm going to jump ahead and talk about Starfield now. This isn't a game I was really at all invested in throughout its development, but with this last showcase they finally got my attention. I don't anticipate playing it to completion, but I'm definitely going to spend some time messing around with the features and taking a look at the setting Bethesda has cobbled together for their latest sandbox. It feels like a lot of these features might be lost on Starfield being a single-player game, but I suppose multiplayer would only invite the entire player base to fly around space in all manner of rocket-powered genitalia, which a lot of them will probably end up doing anyway. Now, I love me some SimCity, but I don't necessarily love what it has become in recent years. Cities Skylines has done a great job of filling that void of late, and from the looks of it at the Xbox showcase, the sequel is going to elevate it to maybe the level of Prime SimCity's equal. I can already tell Cities Skylines 2 is going to be one of my chill gaming mainstays when I just need something to kick back and relax to, whether it lives up to its potential or not, but if it does, it could really get its hooks in. I spent the vast majority of the Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess trailer believing it was a new Monster Hunter title in the vein of Rise. Capcom has mastered the art of the action game, and this one looks spectacular even among their past output. Unfortunately, it also looks a lot like the kind of game that wins me over big at E3 but never finds its way into my time or my budget when it actually hits store shelves. And that's a total me issue, and nothing at all to do with anything Capcom's doing wrong here. I'll be following its development closely. Persona 3 Reload was one half of the worst kept secret on the show. The only thing we didn't know was exactly what it would entail, and while I admit the omission of any content from FES or Portable has dulled a good chunk of my anticipation for this game, since after all these years we still won't have a definitive edition to speak of, the fact that I'll be able to add a version of my favorite Persona game to my physical Switch library is plenty of cause for excitement. Persona 5 Tactica also leaked ahead of the show, once by a URL registration and again by Atlus's own Instagram account. I'm actually surprised it took this long for the Persona series to test the strategy RPG waters, not to mention that it's doing so with the chibi Persona Q style character design. Still, Atlus has made a name for itself over the years by offering up all varieties of JRPGs, so it's hard to imagine this game being any kind of misstep. Unlike Persona 3 Reload, there is no explicit multi-platform disclosure here, but that just might be under what I call an impression of exclusivity embargo, and its availability status just didn't leak by any online store listings or the like. Metaphor ReFantasio is the really pleasant surprise from the Xbox presentation. This is not a new game announcement, and it has been known about since 2016 actually, when Persona developers announced that they were working on Project ReFantasy, citing that the way the genre has gone in recent years, the most offbeat thing a JRPG studio can do now is go down the hard traditional medieval fantasy path, which is certainly what they're doing here. I'm surprised how much of Persona's DNA has worked its way into the newly named Metaphor, but honestly I'm just happy that it's in a demonstrable form now and finally approaching the finish line. This is the feel-good story of Not E3 2023 thus far. Of course I can't give a good analysis of the Xbox showcase without talking about the new Series S model. This one has a black shell and 1 terabyte of onboard storage, solving the biggest problem with the digital-only version of the Xbox Series, and only for $50 more. I never understood why they would give the digital-only SKU such a disadvantage as the minuscule storage capacity the original model had, so this is a welcome step. Perhaps even the best overall value proposition for someone just buying into the Xbox who isn't already invested in physical games. The problem with all this is the sense of desperation that should be driving Microsoft after all the recent first-party woes culminating with Redfall wasn't at all present. When they should have come out with all guns blazing, far too many bullets were kept in the chamber. The Perfect Dark, Project Gotham Racing, Killer Instinct, Gears of War, and so on. Ordinarily, I'm not a fan of talking about games that are more than a year out at these types of shows, but the Xbox situation has become so dismal and dire that I feel like they needed to let the world know what they were working on with all of their IPs, and instead they chose to end the show proper at the hour mark. Time will tell if that was as ruinous a decision as it felt in the moment. Now, I genuinely don't believe quote-unquote real trouble exists in the gaming industry anymore. Nothing genuinely landscape shifting in any case. The last real trouble saw Sega get pushed out of the hardware business. The 3 remaining platform holders all have fuck you money and can survive any similar catastrophe, as evidenced by the Wii U, which by any objective measure performed worse than the Dreamcast at retail. However, while Microsoft and the Xbox brand will be fine, one has to imagine Phil Spencer is on borrowed time in his current position if this presentation doesn't buy them some serious goodwill with Xbox owners and especially Game Pass subscribers. If the worst case scenario comes to pass and Phil Spencer gives way to Aaron Greenberg or Matt Booty, you then have to wonder if everything possible was done in order to prevent that. Right now, it really doesn't look like it was. The main objective for these types of presentations is to make people feel better about owning your system going out than they did coming in. I can't speak for anyone else, and I readily acknowledge that the show as a whole seems to be pretty well received, but there really wasn't any net gain or loss when it comes to me. I'll play the hell out of Forza when it drops, and we'll at least mess around a little bit with Starfield when it's out, but I'll be looking elsewhere for just about everything else that made any kind of impression on me. I'm never going to look to Xbox for my multi-platform games, so they have to lock down more exclusives to get more of my money, and they really didn't do that here. That's all for now. If you like this video, then please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, as it all helps grow the channel. Click the notification bell to know right away when the next video drops. I'm Patrick Mifflin, sounding off.